right, in this week's lesson, we're going to learn about a capo, okay? I have two capos here, and basically what a capo is, it's just a device that attaches onto your fretboard to shorten your nut, okay? And you say, why would I want to do that? Well, you'd want to do that to easily be in another key and play with others in that other key. And I often get this question, Mandy, how do I play with a guitar in the key of G or any other instrument, okay? And we're going to walk through it and help you understand how to use it, why to use it, and when to use it, okay? So we're in standard DAD tuning here. And what we're going to do is look at our nut real quick. So we've got DAD, right? So you probably have already learned some bar chords. And a bar chord is when you press down all the strings at a specific fret, right, to make a chord. And you probably already know that this at the 3rd fret is a G chord. You probably already know that at the 4th fret, you've got an A chord, okay? So what makes this a G chord, okay? Well, what makes it a G chord is when we shorten our nut right here, this D now becomes what? Do you know? It becomes a G. Because here's an E, here's an F sharp, and here's a G. So this middle string that's A becomes a what? Do you know? It's a D. So we've got A, we've got B here at the 1st fret, we've got C sharp at the 2nd fret, and we've got D at the 3rd fret. And our melody string is also a G. Hope that makes sense to you. So if we're to put a capo down at that 3rd fret, we are in the key of G, and now we are playing, when we play, we're playing an open G chord, okay? So playing it open gives us that G, D, G, G chord, all right? And the trick to this is just to do everything you already do normally. So you know a song in the key of D, right? And you know how to play it. So you keep your fingering the same as you would. So your D chord down here would be 002, right? An easy D chord. So now with your new nut, if you do an 002, now you have an easy G chord. But you don't have to think of it that way. You can if you want. But I like to think of it as our 1 chord, okay? And I have a bunch of lessons on this stuff, the Nashville numbering system, over at my website. But so that's our 1 chord. Our 4 chord is what we use all the time over here, our G chord. Well, now it's a C because of this, but it's still our 4 chord. I hope this makes sense to you. So if we play that G shape when we're capoed up here, that's our 4 chord, which is now a C. But we're still playing those D shapes, right? Our 1 chord, our 4 chord, and our 5 chord, which is an A that we would play 101 or any various number of ways. We play that the same way here, and now we've got our 5 chord, but we're in the key of G. So any song we play that we already know the fingering to, right? We're just playing the same shapes, but now we're in the key of G. Isn't that awesome? It's really awesome. Okay, now, if we move it up one more, now we're in the key of A, okay? Remember that bar chord, all right? So now what are we tuned at when we make that new nut? We're tuned A, E, A. And as you may or may not know, this is the tuning that is common and most common for a baritone dulcimer, but it's an octave lower. That A, E, A. Now again, anytime, the rule of capo is, anytime you're using that capo, on these certain frets, you're going to have the exact same fingering. Now you come over here and you go, uh-oh, Mandy, this looks different. I don't have two large spaces. Well, you know what you do have? You have something really cool that you can try out. A lot of people ask me about the 1.5 fret. Well, here's an easy way to practice the 1.5 fret without even having one. Capo up to the 4th fret. Yes, you're in the key of A. Still have your 1, 4, 5 chords and any chords you want to play. But another cool thing that you have now is you have a 1.5 fret, and you can practice with that, right? How cool is that? So now you can do a lot of other things. You can practice with that and see how you might like that 1.5. But anyway, so again, I'm just going to go over it one more time for you, because I want you to understand this. Capos are a great thing, all right? You can easily play with another instrument. Let me tell you this too. So I often get this question as well that I want to address, and this is not us using a capo, but I get asked, how do I play with a guitar, banjo, etc.? Well, I showed you a couple ways. I showed you how to get into G and how to get into A real easily. But here's another thing you can do. A lot of times guitarists will play in using a C shape in the key of C, right? And they'll just capo to whatever key is needed, all right? So if a guitarist is playing in the key of C, you can just tell them, hey, would you mind capoing at the 2nd fret? That's their 2nd fret. And remember, it would be like this, going a full step, all right? So if they would capo at the 2nd fret, they'd be in the key of D, and then you wouldn't have to do anything, okay? I hope that makes sense to you. So banjos, how they'll get to D is they will retune their instrument into something called double C, and then they'll capo at the 2nd fret to be in the key of D, or they'll just tune their instrument into the open D instead of the open C, okay? But those are a myriad of ways you can play with these other instruments, and it's a lot of fun, and I hope you'll seek out people to play with. But getting a capo is essential. It will do so much for you. So another one I want to show you is at the 1st fret. All right, so what are we in the 1st fret? And remember this, if you're not sure, if you don't know any music theory at all yet and you're unsure, you can use your tuner to help you. So now the bass and the melody are E, right? What's that middle? Well, it was A before. It's B now, okay? I hope that makes sense to you. Now you're in E or E minor. And you can play a lot of stuff out of that, okay? So those capos are just absolutely amazing, all right? So get yourself one. And anyway, I hope that helped you. And I hope now that you really understand how to use this capo to your advantage. They are a very handy little tool so that you don't have to change all your fingering. You can keep the same fingering for all these songs you've learned to play in D, and just slap that capo on right here or right here, and it just opens up a whole new world for you. And again, you can test out that 1.5. Yes, it'll be smushed a little bit closer, but it's still a great way to see what you think about that 1.5 if you don't have one. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and we will see you next week.